What holds you back in life? Is it fear of failure, the constant need for approval, or perhaps the endless cycle of comparing yourself to others? Imagine, for a moment, a version of yourself that isn't swayed by these forces. A self so grounded that no insult, no setback, no fleeting desire could ever break your spirit. Does such strength exist, you wonder? It does, and it starts here. Take a moment to reflect on this. How often have you let emotions like anger or jealousy dictate your actions? Maybe you snapped at someone you care about, or you held on to resentment, wasting hours or even days consumed by feelings you could not control. Now, think of the opposite. Imagine if you could rise above those emotions, maintaining calm in the chaos and making choices that serve your purpose, not your impulses. Here's a simple example from daily life. You're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off. Anger bubbles up instantly. You want to honk, shout, maybe even speed up. But then, a thought strikes you. Is this worth my peace? A Stoic would pause, breathe, and let it go. They know that their peace is too valuable to trade for momentary rage. Welcome to Stoic Journey, the place where we unravel the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and apply it to our modern lives. Here, we believe that true strength comes from within, from mastering ourselves before we try to master the world. If this resonates with you, you're in the right place. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please, take a moment, like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Stoic Journey. Your support helps us bring you more of this life-changing wisdom. The journey to unshakable will begin with understanding one simple truth. Life will test you. Challenges are inevitable, but how you respond, that is entirely in your hands. With each moment of self-control, each victory over destructive emotions, you become more powerful, more unshakable. Keep watching, and together, we will explore the tools to harness that strength, one step at a time. Mastering the storm within. There is a storm inside every one of us. It is not something we can escape from, nor is it something we can control entirely. Yet, we can learn how to live with it, how to sit with it, how to make peace with it. The Stoics understood this more than anyone else. They knew that life is full of emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, love, desire, but that these emotions are not the master. We are the masters of them, if we choose to be. You are not your anger. You are not your frustration. You are not your pain. These things come and go, but you, the observer, remain. The storm within will come and go, but your true self, the one that remains untouched by these storms, is constant. The storm is not to be feared. It is to be understood. Think about a time when you felt overwhelmed by emotion. Maybe someone insulted you, and your mind went wild, replaying their words, fueling your anger. Perhaps you felt betrayed, and your heart filled with sorrow. In those moments, did you stop and ask yourself, what is really happening here? Or did you simply react, letting your emotions decide your actions? When we react to life's storms, we give up our power. We allow our feelings to dictate our behavior, and often, those feelings are rooted in nothing more than our own perceptions. The Stoic mindset teaches us to question those perceptions. Are they true? Are they helpful? Are they guiding us toward the person we want to be? This is the key. Emotions are not facts. They are passing clouds in the sky of our mind. Just as the sky does not care about the clouds, the Stoic does not need to give in to their emotions. Instead, the Stoic watches them pass by, observing but not engaging. They understand that emotions are temporary, and that their actions are far more important than how they feel in the moment. Consider the example of a soldier going into battle. The soldier is afraid, perhaps even terrified. Fear is natural, even necessary, in such a situation. It keeps the soldier alert, aware. But what the soldier does with that fear is what matters. The Stoic soldier does not let fear control him. He feels it, acknowledges it, and then chooses to act in accordance with his duty, not his fear. He takes a deep breath, steadies his mind, and moves forward. We, too, must become soldiers in our own lives. Each day, we face battles. Battles with ourselves, with our emotions, with our desires. The question is not whether we feel fear, anger, or sadness. It is what we do with those feelings. Do we let them consume us, or do we rise above them, choosing to act with wisdom, purpose, and self-control? The journey toward mastering the storm within requires practice. It is not something we accomplish in a day or even a year. It is a lifelong process of learning to observe, to breathe, to think before we act. The Stoic philosophers did not expect us to be perfect. They only asked that we strive to be better each day. This striving, this continual growth, is what builds true strength. It is what transforms us from reactive beings, constantly tossed about by the winds of emotion, into individuals who are grounded, centered, and unshaken by the storms of life. One of the most important tools the Stoics offer is the practice of reflection. Every evening, before you sleep, take a moment to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, how did I respond to the storms within? Did I let my emotions rule me? Or did I remain calm and collected? It is in this reflection that we begin to understand ourselves. We begin to notice the patterns, the triggers, in the moments when we lost control. And through this understanding, we become better prepared for the next storm. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This is a powerful truth. Most of the storms we experience are created in our minds. We imagine the worst-case scenario, we replay past mistakes, and we create chaos where there is none. By learning to calm the mind, we can stop these imaginary storms before they take hold. It is also important to remember that you are not alone in this struggle. We all face the same inner battles. No one is exempt from the storms of life. The key is not to avoid the storms, but to face them with courage and clarity. When we stand together, united in our pursuit of wisdom and self-control, we become stronger. The Stoics believed in the power of community, in the strength that comes from learning together and supporting one another. We are all on this journey together, each striving for mastery over our own minds, each pushing ourselves to become more than we were yesterday. There is a Zen story that illustrates this beautifully. A Zen master was walking with his student when they encountered a fierce storm. The student, panicked and afraid, said, "Master, the storm is too much. We must take shelter." The master simply smiled and replied, "The storm is not the problem. The problem is your fear of it." The master did not deny the storm's power, but he understood that it was not the storm that caused suffering. It was the student's reaction to it. In the same way, we are not immune to the storms of life, but we can choose how we respond to them. When we begin to master the storm within, we stop letting our emotions control us. We stop reacting blindly to life's challenges. We stop being victims of our own minds. Instead, we become calm, steady, and powerful. We become the eye of the storm, a place of peace amidst the chaos. The path to mastering the storm within is a path of inner discipline, of constant practice and self-awareness. It is not an easy path, but it is the only one that leads to true freedom. For when we master our emotions, we free ourselves from the chains that bind us. We become the masters of our own lives, not slaves to our impulses and fears. This is the power of the Stoic mindset. It is the power to face any storm, no matter how fierce, with grace, courage, and unwavering strength. And it is available to you, right now, if you are willing to take the first step. Will you? Will you choose to master the storm within? Will you choose to rise above your emotions, to stand firm in the face of life's challenges? The choice is yours. Chains of desire, breaking free. We are all born with desires. A thirst for more, a hunger for something else. It's as if something inside of us constantly wants to reach for what's next, what's better. Desire is part of being human, yet what happens when that desire becomes a chain around your neck? What happens when the constant wanting controls you, instead of you controlling it? Desire is a powerful force. It can guide us toward improvement, push us to work hard, to pursue goals. But when unchecked, it becomes a trap. It leads us to believe that happiness lies in what we do not have, in the next thing we think we need. We see it everywhere. People striving for more wealth, better looks, more success, the next achievement. But in the pursuit of all these things, we forget something essential, that we already have everything we need. Consider this. Think of something you wanted deeply, a car, a house, a relationship, maybe even a reputation. You worked for it, hoped for it, sacrificed for it. But once you got it, how long did the satisfaction last? A few months, a few days, or even just a fleeting moment. Desire, in this sense, is endless. It constantly pulls us into the future, making us believe that we are incomplete until we obtain the next thing. But a Stoic mind, a truly disciplined mind, sees this cycle for what it is, a chain. Imagine you're in a prison, not made of bars, but made of your own wants and needs. You look around, and you see a world filled with people, each of them chained by their desires. Some seek status, others seek pleasure, and some simply seek comfort. But what they do not realize is that as long as they are chasing, they will never reach true freedom. The Stoics, in their wisdom, understood the difference between natural desires and excessive desires. Natural desires are those that support our survival: food, water, shelter. These are simple needs, and once they are met, we are content. Excessive desires, however, are those that go beyond necessity. The desire for luxury, for things we do not need, for things that do not bring us true peace. These desires are what tie us down. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If we are constantly ruled by our desires, how can we be truly free? Our happiness becomes dependent on external things, things that we cannot control. It is the same as being a prisoner to something we have no power over. So, what can we do about it? How can we break free from these chains? The first step is awareness. Just like a prisoner needs to understand they are in a cage, we need to recognize when our desires are controlling us. The next step is acceptance. Realize that there is nothing outside of you that will bring lasting peace or fulfillment. It is not in the next car, the next job, the next relationship. It is within you. The Stoic practice of apatheia, not being ruled by passions, teaches us to distance ourselves from our desires. We do not need to chase after what we do not have. Instead, we turn our attention inward, focusing on the power of our own mind. In the words of Epictetus, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Let's explore this more deeply. Consider the desire for recognition or praise. It is one of the strongest chains we wear. We often feel that our worth is tied to how others see us, to the approval we receive. But if we depend on others for our sense of value, we are no longer in control. We give our power away to the judgments of others. This is why the Stoics teach us to let go of the need for external validation. Think about it. If your worth is tied to others' opinions, you will forever be at their mercy. You will be enslaved by the ever-changing views of the world around you. The Stoic path, however, is to look within. Your worth is not decided by the outside world. It is decided by your own actions, your own character. This inner strength cannot be touched by anyone else. Now, let's look at the desire for pleasure. The pursuit of fleeting pleasures is another chain. Whether it's food, drink, or distractions that take us away from what truly matters, these pleasures keep us in a constant state of yearning. We chase them, not because they are necessary, but because we have been conditioned to believe that happiness lies in more pleasure, more comfort. Yet, this never leads to lasting peace. The Stoic approach is to detach from this hunger. We learn to embrace discomfort, to find contentment in simplicity. Seneca, a Roman Stoic philosopher, said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Many of the things we desire are rooted in our minds, in ideas we've created about what will make us happy. But once we break free from these illusions, we see that the world is full of beauty in its simplest form. True contentment is found not in excess, but in acceptance. Breaking free from the chains of desire is not easy. It requires discipline, self-reflection, and a commitment to living according to virtue. It means choosing inner peace over external gratification, stability over fleeting pleasure. This is not a rejection of life's pleasures, but rather a deep understanding that we do not need them to be complete. The true Stoic is not one who seeks to eliminate all desires, but one who learns to distinguish between what is truly necessary and what is merely an illusion. They understand that their power lies in their ability to choose, whether to indulge or to resist. In every moment, they are free to choose what leads them toward virtue, not what leads them toward momentary satisfaction. So, As you move through your life, remember this. Desires will come and go, but you are not bound by them. You are not a prisoner to what you do not have. The chains of desire are only as strong as you allow them to be. Break free from them, and you will discover a freedom that is more profound than anything the world can offer. The art of indifference to insults. In the world around us, insults are inevitable. They come from others, from situations, and even from within ourselves. They sting, they hurt, and they tempt us to react. But here is a truth you must understand deeply and fully. You don't have to respond to every insult. Think about it. The moment you take offense, you give away a piece of yourself. The moment you feel wounded by someone else's words, you allow them to control you. Why give that power away? Why surrender your peace for something so fleeting, so meaningless? Let us step back and consider a simple scenario. You're walking down the street, minding your own business, when someone makes a rude remark. Instantly, your heart races, your fists clench, and your thoughts spiral into anger. You feel the urge to lash out, to defend your honor, to retaliate. But pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this truly worth your energy? This is where the art of indifference comes in. Indifference doesn't mean apathy or coldness. It means that you do not allow external things to disturb your inner calm. It means that you choose how to respond, rather than being at the mercy of external forces. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The insults of others are like the wind, harmless if you don't allow them to move you. The moment you allow yourself to be swept away by them, you lose your peace. But if you remain steady, like a rock in the river, the wind will have no power over you. Let us explore this idea deeper. When someone insults you, it often comes from their own pain, their own insecurity. They are projecting their struggles onto you. In truth, their words are a reflection of them, not of you. Why then should you take their words to heart? Why should you let their words define your worth? Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." To respond to insults with anger or retaliation only brings more negativity into the world. But to remain calm, to be indifferent to the words of others, is the true sign of strength. It is not in proving yourself to others that you find peace, but in knowing, deep down, that you need no validation from the outside world. We are all human, and yes, insults will still hurt, even with the wisdom of Stoicism. But it is not the insult that defines us. It is our response to it. When we choose not to be disturbed, when we choose not to allow the insult to penetrate our peace, we have mastered ourselves. And that is the highest form of power. You see, when you no longer take offense, when you no longer react to insults, you become free. You are no longer at the mercy of the words of others, no longer a slave to your emotions. This is true liberation. To understand this, let us go even deeper. Insults, at their core, come from a place of weakness. The person who insults you is showing their own inability to control their emotions, their own inner chaos. They are like children throwing tantrums, seeking attention, validation, or revenge. But you, the Stoic, are not a child. You are a master of your own mind. Think of the great Zen masters, who, when insulted or attacked, remained calm, serene, and undisturbed. Their power came not from their ability to strike back, but from their complete indifference to what others said or did. They were so deeply rooted in their own inner peace that nothing external could shake them. This is the strength you must cultivate within yourself. Now, imagine a moment when you have been insulted, when someone has tried to provoke you. How do you react? Do you feel the impulse to fight back? Do you feel the urge to defend your ego, to protect your reputation? These impulses are natural, but you must recognize them for what they are, impulses, not truths. To react in anger, to feel insulted, is to give in to these impulses, to allow them to control you. But if you remain calm, if you respond with measured silence or thoughtful words, you reclaim your power. You show the world that you are no longer ruled by external events, that your peace is unshakable. The next time you are insulted, remind yourself of this truth. You are not what others say about you. Their words do not define your worth. Your worth is not determined by external praise or criticism. It comes from within. When you truly understand this, you will no longer feel the need to defend yourself. Your silence, your calm, will be your greatest response. This is the power of Stoicism. It is the ability to remain steady in the face of adversity, to maintain your inner peace regardless of the chaos around you. It is the art of indifference, not in the sense of not caring about the world, but in not allowing the world to disturb your peace. So the next time you encounter an insult, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you control your reaction, not the words of others. By doing so, you not only protect your peace, but you also grow stronger. Every insult that you let pass without reacting, every time you choose calm over anger, you build a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. In the end, the insult is not the problem. The problem is how you choose to respond to it. And if you can master your response, you will have mastered yourself. And that, my friend, is the greatest victory of all, the fortress of self-control. In life, many things are outside our control. The weather, other people's actions, and the endless distractions of the world. But there is one thing we can always control, the way we respond to it all. Self-control is not just about restraining our impulses, but about building a fortress of inner strength that nothing can penetrate. This fortress is unshakable, unyielding, and stands tall against all the storms of life. Think about the times when you've let your emotions take over. Maybe you've lost your temper, said things you didn't mean, or allowed frustration to guide your actions. In those moments, your mind was a battlefield, and the emotions were the enemy. What if you could build a shield against this chaos? A shield that allows you to face the world with calm, clear purpose. This is what true self-control offers. It all begins with awareness. You must first recognize when you're losing control. The moment your thoughts start to spiral, when anger, envy, or fear start to creep in, you must stop and take a breath. Ask yourself, is this the best version of myself? If you feel your temper rising, or your anxiety building, simply pause. Take a step back. Imagine your mind as a peaceful lake, undisturbed by the wind, calm and still. Every time you pause, you strengthen your ability to choose your response instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, believe that our thoughts are within our control and that we must guard them like a fortress. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The key here is not to fight the emotions themselves, but to stop them before they begin to control your actions. Instead of reacting, you respond. You pause, reflect, and choose wisely. In your daily life, there will always be moments that test your self-control. Someone will cut you off in traffic. You will face delays, disappointments, and obstacles. But in each of these moments, you have a choice. Will you allow frustration, anger, or fear to take over? Or will you stand strong, holding your ground with calmness and clarity? The true test of your self-control is not when everything is going smoothly, but when everything is falling apart. The person who can remain calm in the chaos, who can control their emotions in the midst of turmoil, is the person who is truly powerful. One of the greatest practices of self-control is mastering your reactions. When someone insults you, do you rise to the bait and retaliate? Or do you remain silent, understanding that their words are their problem, not yours? This is the power of self-control. It's not about suppressing your feelings, but about choosing how to act despite them. Imagine the strength it takes to hear an insult, to feel that sting, and yet to remain calm and composed. This is the essence of true power. Self-control doesn't mean avoiding emotions. It means understanding them and choosing not to let them dominate you. For example, when faced with a setback, instead of letting defeat take root, you embrace it as an opportunity to grow. Instead of letting disappointment paralyze you, you use it as fuel to drive forward. The Stoics knew that the obstacles we face are not obstacles at all. They are opportunities in disguise. Building your fortress of self-control is not an easy task. It requires constant practice and vigilance. Each time you resist the urge to act impulsively, each time you choose calmness over chaos, you are strengthening the walls of your inner fortress. And with time, your control over your emotions becomes second nature. You no longer react, but respond with wisdom and clarity. You become the master of your mind, and in doing so, you unlock your true potential. One of the greatest legends of Stoicism, Epictetus, taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. True freedom comes not from being able to do whatever we want, but from the ability to control ourselves in any situation. This is the essence of self-control, mastery over your thoughts, emotions, and actions. The more you practice, the more you'll realize that nothing can move you from your center. You become the still point in a world that constantly spins. There are many distractions in life, many things that will pull at your attention, but in the midst of it all, your self-control will serve as your anchor. When the waves of stress, anger, or fear crash around you, your fortress will keep you grounded. You will find that no matter what happens, your peace remains intact. Self-control also teaches you to respect yourself. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, when you refuse to let your emotions dictate your actions, you create a sense of self-respect. This respect is not about being perfect, but about being consistent. It's about knowing that every time you choose to rise above your impulses, you honor the person you want to become. In the grand scheme of life, self-control is one of the most powerful tools you can possess. It doesn't just make you more disciplined. It makes you stronger, more resilient, and more capable of handling whatever life throws your way. When you develop the ability to control your emotions and thoughts, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You become the creator of your own destiny. So, as you go through your day, remember this. Every time you choose self-control, you are building your fortress. Every moment you pause, reflect, and choose your response, you are adding another layer of strength to your mind. And with each layer, you become less and less affected by the chaos of the world. You are no longer a leaf blown around by the wind. You are a mountain, unmovable and steadfast. This fortress of self-control is the key to unlocking your true power. And as you strengthen it, you will find that nothing in life can shake your inner peace, your purpose, or your path. You are in control, turning pain into purpose. Pain, it touches us all. We can't avoid it. It shows up in different ways: physical, emotional, mental. It can be sudden and sharp, like a deep wound, or it can be slow, creeping into our lives over time, wearing us down bit by bit. But there is something essential you must understand. Pain, in all its forms, is not your enemy. In fact, it can be your greatest teacher, if you allow it. When we experience pain, the first instinct is to resist. We fight against it. We wish it away. But pain, just like all things in life, is part of nature. The more you resist it, the more it consumes you. The more you fight it, the more it fights back. So, what if we learn to accept it, to embrace it, not as a punishment but as a lesson? Imagine you are walking through a forest. You have a goal, a destination in mind. But as you walk, you stumble upon rocks, brambles, and branches that scratch your skin. At first, these obstacles seem like interruptions, even frustrations. But after a while, you notice something. The more you step over the rocks, the more you learn how to walk carefully. The more you push through the brambles, the stronger your steps become. And eventually, you see the path ahead more clearly. The obstacles that once caused pain now guide you toward wisdom. Pain is the same way. It is a sign that something needs to be learned. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and a great Stoic philosopher, taught that pain is not to be feared, nor is it something to be avoided. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, he said. What does this mean for us? It means that whatever pain you face, whatever hardship, you can choose to use it as fuel for your growth. Think about how often we let pain define us. A failed project at work, a broken relationship, the loss of someone we love. These things can shape us if we let them. But the Stoics teach us that we do not have to let pain destroy us. We can take these experiences, difficult as they are, and transform them into sources of strength. Just as the blacksmith takes raw, brittle iron and turns it into a sharp, durable sword, we too can take our struggles and forge them into something more resilient. Pain has a way of breaking us open. When we face something that challenges us, it shows us who we truly are. Are you the kind of person who breaks under pressure? Or do you rise, again and again, refusing to be defeated? The Stoic path teaches us that it is not what happens to us that matters, but how we respond to it. Pain, in this sense, becomes a tool for self-discovery. But how do we turn pain into purpose? It's simple, really, by reframing it. When pain comes into your life, don't see it as something to fear or avoid. See it as an opportunity to learn. When you feel hurt, ask yourself, what can this teach me? Maybe it's showing you that you've been too attached to something temporary. Maybe it's pushing you to grow in a new direction, one that is more aligned with your true self. Maybe it's asking you to let go of something that no longer serves you. Think about how athletes train. They subject their bodies to intense physical stress, pain, exhaustion, strain. Yet they do this with purpose. They know that each drop of sweat, each aching muscle, is bringing them closer to their goal. In the same way, every hardship you face is an opportunity to strengthen your mind, to deepen your character, and to move closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. This process, however, is not easy. It takes patience, discipline, and above all, courage. It's easy to become overwhelmed by pain. It's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when you're caught up in the moment. But the Stoic way asks you to remember this. Pain is temporary. It will pass. But the strength you gain from overcoming it, that stays with you, and it grows. Think of the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was once a slave and suffered many hardships throughout his life. Yet, he saw those very struggles as a means of sharpening his wisdom and fortitude. His teachings remind us that we are in control of how we react to pain, and that suffering is an opportunity to prove our resilience. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, he said. When you embrace this mindset, you can transform any pain into a stepping stone. Now, let's think for a moment about the times in your life when you've endured pain. Perhaps it was the loss of someone you loved, or perhaps it was a deep betrayal by someone you trusted. At the time, it felt like your world was falling apart. You couldn't see beyond the immediate anguish. But as time passed, you began to heal. And through that healing, you discovered something important. You were stronger than you realized. You grew, even in the face of that pain. That is the gift pain offers. The chance to grow, to evolve, and to become more fully yourself. Pain is the teacher that helps you find your true strength. Without it, you would remain complacent, stagnant. Pain wakes you up. It forces you to step outside of your comfort zone. It challenges you to become better, to be more than you were before. Let's take a moment to reflect on how this applies to your life right now. Is there something in your life that's causing you pain? A struggle that feels like too much to bear? What if you shifted your perspective? What if you could see this pain as the way forward, not the way back? What if this very moment, this very difficulty, was the thing that would shape you into the person you've always wanted to be? In the end, the Stoic path teaches us that pain is not an obstacle. It is the way. It is the fire that forges us, the darkness that reveals the light within us. When you face pain, do not shrink from it. Do not flee from it. Embrace it. Use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it strengthen you. In doing so, you will find a purpose far greater than the pain itself. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. Every person you meet, every experience you have, is a lesson. Pain will come. It will challenge you. But with each challenge, you become more resilient, more focused, more powerful. And in the end, you will see that the person you have become was shaped by the very pain you once feared. The Stoic way is clear. Pain is not your enemy. It is your ally. And through it, you will find your purpose. The discipline of perception. There is a saying, what you see is not always what is. But how often do we truly see things as they are? The world rushes at us, fast and loud, with its colors, sounds, and distractions. Our mind picks out pieces of it, but often it doesn't see clearly. It twists reality, interpreting situations through the lens of our emotions, fears, and desires. This is the root of much of our suffering. Think about it. Have you ever faced a situation where you reacted too quickly? You saw something, felt something, and instantly responded, only to regret it later. How many times have you looked at a person, a challenge, or a situation, and assumed you knew everything, only to discover you were wrong? This happens because our perception is often clouded by our inner storms. The anger we feel, the fear that grips us, or the desire that controls us all shape how we see the world. This isn't seeing the truth. This is seeing only our own version of reality. What if we could change that? What if we could discipline our minds to see clearly, to see things as they are, without the distortion of our emotions and desires? Imagine the freedom that comes from not being ruled by impulsive reactions, from no longer being a prisoner of misperceptions. This is the practice of true perception. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself to look beyond appearances, to see beyond the surface, and to focus on what truly matters. He would ask, "What is this? What is the real meaning of this?" And in that moment, he would find clarity. This is the power of the disciplined mind. It sees what is real, not what is imagined. It understands that external events are neutral. It is how we perceive and react to them that shapes our experience. You have the ability to master this discipline. You are not bound by your first impressions. You can pause, step back, and examine a situation with clarity, free from the grip of emotion. The discipline of perception is about choice. You may not be able to control the world around you, but you can control how you respond to it. You choose how to see. A person may insult you, but you don't have to perceive it as a personal attack. You may lose your job, but you don't have to see it as the end of your world. The situation itself is neither good nor bad. It is simply what it is. How you interpret it is where your power lies. Let's take a simple example. Picture yourself walking down a street when you accidentally bump into someone. The person might glare at you, or even shout at you in anger. Your immediate instinct may be to react, to feel embarrassed, or angry, or defensive. But with disciplined perception, you don't need to follow that instinct. You can choose to perceive it differently. Maybe the person is having a bad day. Maybe they didn't even notice it was you. The point is, the situation is neutral, and it is your perception that will determine how you feel. This doesn't mean we suppress our feelings. No, it means we acknowledge them and then choose how to act. The Stoics were not emotionless. They were simply masters of their emotions. They knew that emotions, like waves, would come and go. They didn't let them control their actions. Instead, they focused on understanding the situation before reacting. Then how do we do this? We practice. We start with small things. We discipline our minds by choosing how to perceive the little moments. When someone cuts you off in traffic, do you see them as an enemy, or as someone who's just trying to get to their destination? When someone disagrees with you, do you see them as a threat to your ego, or as someone offering a different perspective? With each moment, we have the opportunity to choose our perception. The more we practice, the more effortless it becomes. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of the discipline of perception. Life will present you with countless situations, each one neutral until you choose how to perceive it. You have the power to rise above the emotions that cloud your judgment, to see the truth without distortion. When you master this, you master yourself. This discipline doesn't come overnight. It requires patience, practice, and persistence. But each time you choose to perceive the world more clearly, you grow stronger. Each time you resist the urge to react emotionally, you build a foundation of unshakable peace. There's a concept in Zen called beginner's mind. It's the idea of approaching each situation with an open mind, as if seeing it for the first time. When we practice the discipline of perception, we develop this mindset. We stop assuming we know everything. We stop projecting our past experiences onto the present moment. We simply observe, with clarity and openness. Imagine how different your life would be if you approached every moment with disciplined perception. Instead of reacting with anger, fear, or frustration, you would respond with calm, understanding, and purpose. You would no longer be at the mercy of your emotions, but instead would be the master of your reactions. The world would no longer control you. You would be free. This is the way of the Stoic. This is the way of the Zen master. It is the way of clarity, strength, and peace. And it begins with the simple practice of choosing how to see the world. When we discipline our perception, we open the door to true freedom. And in that freedom, we become unshakable. Now, this is not an easy path. It takes time. It takes effort. But it is a path worth walking. for it leads to a life free from the chains of distorted perception. With each step, we grow more in control of our mind and our life. And with that control, we become capable of seeing the world as it is, beautiful, impermanent, and full of opportunities for growth. So, from this day forward, begin with the small things. Practice the discipline of perception in every interaction, every challenge, in every moment. Choose to see the truth, not through the fog of emotions, but with the clarity of a disciplined mind. And as you do, you will find that the world becomes a much more peaceful and empowering place. Rising above fear and failure. Fear, my friends, is nothing but a shadow that follows us everywhere, whispering doubts and telling us we are not enough. It is a constant companion, lurking in the corners of our minds, waiting to strike at the first sign of weakness. But let me ask you this, what if we stopped running from it? What if we faced it, square in the eyes, and refused to let it control us? The Stoic way teaches us that fear is not something to fear. It is simply an emotion that we have the power to transform. It is not the fear itself that makes us weak, but our reaction to it. When we allow fear to dictate our actions, we give it power over us. But when we face it, with calm and clarity, we take that power back. You see, fear thrives on uncertainty. It tells us that something bad will happen, that we are not prepared, that we are not capable. It convinces us that failure is inevitable. But here is the truth. Failure is not the end. It is not a reflection of your worth. It is simply a lesson. Every failure holds within it the seed of growth, the opportunity to learn, to improve, to try again. Think about the greatest minds in history. Did they succeed on their first attempt? Did they get everything right the first time? No. They failed, over and over again. And yet, they persisted. Why? Because they understood that failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of it. It is a necessary step on the path to greatness. Take Thomas Edison, for example. The man who gave us the light bulb failed thousands of times before he succeeded. When asked about his many failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This mindset, this refusal to be defeated by failure, is what led him to success. It is what allowed him to rise above fear and failure. Now, consider your own life. What fears are holding you back? What failures have you experienced that still haunt you? Are you allowing them to dictate your actions, to limit your potential? Or are you ready to rise above them? The Stoic teaches us that we should embrace discomfort, not run from it. When we fear something, we must move toward it, not away from it. We must confront the very thing that frightens us and find out that it is not so terrible after all. By doing so, we strip fear of its power and regain control over our own lives. Imagine a person who is afraid of public speaking. For years, they avoid it, telling themselves that they are not good enough, that they will fail, that people will judge them. But one day, they decide to face their fear. They step onto the stage, trembling, unsure of themselves. And yet, as they begin to speak, they realize something. The fear is not as strong as they thought. It fades with every word, with every sentence. By confronting it, they have taken back their power. This is the essence of the Stoic approach to fear. It is not about avoiding discomfort, but about leaning into it. It is about seeing fear as a challenge, not a threat. It is about understanding that we can choose how to respond, no matter what the situation. This is not easy, of course. It takes time, practice, and discipline, but it is worth it. Every time you face your fear, every time you rise above it, you become stronger. You become more resilient. You become unstoppable. And what of failure? How do we view failure in the Stoic tradition? We see it not as something to be feared, but as a stepping stone. Failure is not the end of the road. It is part of the journey. Each failure brings us closer to wisdom, to understanding, to mastery. When we fail, we must ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? What can I do differently next time? This mindset shifts the focus from defeat to growth. It allows us to see failure not as a reflection of our abilities, but as an opportunity to improve. Consider the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and faced countless hardships throughout his life. Yet, despite his circumstances, He never allowed fear or failure to define him. He wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Epictetus understood that we cannot control external events, but we can control our response to them. Fear and failure are merely external events. It is our response to them that shapes our destiny. Let us also remember the words of the great Marcus Aurelius, who faced war, betrayal, and personal loss throughout his reign as Emperor of Rome. Yet he wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Marcus Aurelius understood that obstacles, including fear and failure, are not things to be avoided. They are things to be used, to be conquered, and in doing so, they become the very path to our success. So, how can we apply this in our own lives? How can we rise above fear and failure? The first step is awareness. We must become aware of the fears that hold us back, the failures that haunt us, and the ways in which we react to them. We must acknowledge that these fears and failures are part of the human experience, but they do not define us. Next, we must take action. We must move toward our fears, not away from them. We must challenge ourselves to face them head-on, knowing that every time we do, we grow stronger. We must also redefine failure. Instead of seeing it as an endpoint, we must see it as a lesson, a teacher that guides us toward improvement. Finally, we must cultivate resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to learn from failure, and to keep going, no matter what. It is the strength to rise above fear, to face the unknown with courage, and to keep moving forward, one step at a time. In the end, fear and failure are not our enemies. They are our teachers. They are the challenges that push us to grow, to evolve, to become better versions of ourselves. And when we rise above them, we not only conquer fear and failure, we conquer ourselves. And that, my friends, is the true path to greatness. So, I ask you again, what fears are you letting control you? What failures are you still clinging to? Today, right now, choose to rise above them. Choose to face your fears, to learn from your failures, and to walk the path of strength, resilience, and mastery. The power is within you. The journey starts now. Eternal strength through virtue. In this world, we often seek strength in external things. We look for power in wealth, status, and accomplishments, believing that these will make us secure. But all of these things are fragile. They are fleeting, easily lost. True strength, however, is not found in the things we have, but in the person we become. It is found in virtue. Virtue is the foundation upon which everything else rests. It is the practice of living in harmony with reason, the essence of what it means to be human. The Stoics believe that virtue, not external success, is the only true good. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are the four cardinal virtues that guide us through life. They are the tools we use to build strength that cannot be shaken by the chaos of the world. To understand virtue, we must first accept that we are not perfect. No one is. The path to true strength is not about becoming flawless. It is about continually striving to become better, learning from our mistakes, and growing with each day. It's about developing habits that strengthen the mind, the body, and the soul, even in the face of adversity. Let's take a look at wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to see things clearly, without the fog of bias or desire clouding our judgment. It's the ability to make decisions based on what is truly important, not on fleeting emotions or shallow desires. In daily life, wisdom is the voice inside us that tells us to pause before reacting, to think before we speak, to choose the difficult right over the easy wrong. It is through wisdom that we gain the strength to navigate even the darkest of times. Then there is courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act in spite of fear. It is not the person who never feels fear who is strong, but the person who can face it and still move forward. Courage is required to do what is right, even when it is hard, even when others may laugh or mock. Courage is the quiet strength of the person who stands tall when the world tries to push them down. Justice is the virtue that guides us to live with fairness and respect for others. It's about recognizing that all human beings are worthy of dignity, no matter their background or beliefs. Justice does not seek to take advantage of others for personal gain, but to ensure that everyone has a chance to live with honor and integrity. It's about doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, and even when it costs us something valuable. Temperance, the last of the 4 cardinal virtues, teaches us the art of self-control. In a world that encourages excess, too much food, too much drink, too much noise, temperance is the ability to find balance. It is the ability to say no when we know that something is harmful to us, even if it promises immediate pleasure. Temperance is the strength to keep our desires in check, to recognize that true happiness does not come from indulgence, but from self-mastery. It is through the practice of these virtues that we build a strength that cannot be taken from us. The external world may change, but if we are rooted in virtue, we will remain unshaken. The storms of life may try to knock us down, but we will stand firm, for we have cultivated the inner strength to weather them. But the path to virtue is not easy. It requires effort, discipline, and time. We must constantly examine our thoughts, our actions, and our motivations. We must challenge ourselves to grow, to push beyond our limitations, to become more than we were yesterday. And yet, in this pursuit, there is profound peace. For in striving to live virtuously, we align ourselves with the natural order of the world. We find harmony within ourselves, and this harmony becomes the foundation of true strength. Consider the life of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Born into slavery, Epictetus had no external power. Yet, through his practice of virtue, he became one of the most powerful philosophers of his time. He could not control the circumstances of his birth, but he could control how he responded to those circumstances. He chose to live with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Through these choices, he forged a strength that no one could take from him. We too can choose to live in this way. We may not control the external events in our lives, but we control our response to them. We choose how we act, how we think, how we feel. And through these choices, we shape our character. We create the kind of person who stands firm in the face of adversity, who does what is right, who controls their desires, and who lives with honor. When we live according to virtue, we find a strength that is unshakable. This strength does not come from what we have, but from who we are. It is a strength that remains even when the world around us crumbles. It is a strength that we can carry with us, wherever we go, and it is a strength that grows with each passing day as we continue to live with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. So, we ask you, what kind of person do you want to become? The world will test you. It will challenge you in ways you cannot predict. But if you choose to live according to virtue, if you make the decision to cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in your life, you will find an eternal strength that no one can take from you. This strength will be with you always, a guiding light in even the darkest times. In the end, the pursuit of virtue is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming the best version of yourself, day by day, choice by choice. And as you walk this path, you will find that the strength you seek was never far from you. It was inside you all along.